missing your life, feel like you're not even present, and you want to start showing up, then watch today's show. Hi, I'm Jen Maseda, your host of Woman2Woman Today, where we talk to inspiring women who are helping other women reach their goals and are changing traditional industries and roles in a very positive way. We are talking with the best-selling author of the Girl Power Guidebook and the Girl Power Journal, and the creator of Girl Power Go, Erin Mahoney. She's turned the message she's been delivering to women in all of her popular workshops and trainings into a book called Positive Vibes for Women, which is already a bestseller on Amazon and is sure to expand the playing field for women everywhere. Thank you for being such a vibrant force for women in our community, Erin.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you for having me.
This is so perfect because you've been inspiring girls and getting them on a track to feel empowered and love themselves, and you were missing an entire population, or actually you were reaching them, but you weren't necessarily talking directly to them. So you started Positive Vibes for Women.
Right.
Awesome!
Positive vibes.
Tell me how it came about.
So when I was out there teaching girls, like you mentioned, and doing all this empowerment work, many educators and parents and things that saw me in this work, in this space, said, you know, we need this for us.
Right.
You know, somewhere along the line, we miss, you know, from the time that you're 9 to 15, and then, you know, your 20s, 30s into, you know, into my 40s, we'll leave it at that.
Mine too.
We all need that.
Yes.
We can lose
Right.
whether it's our identity
Right.
or our way. And so, you know, just coming back to that, really thinking about that. So I began to build content and do these workshops where I actually go and speak with people and give them tools and strategies about how to take better care of themselves, but to show up to their life. You know?
So in your book, you say that there are 6 powers that we're completely ignoring, and I would 100% agree with all 6 of those, because the book is a beautiful, it's not little, but it's like it's chock full of information, but it's in the perfect size that you can, as you say, just throw it in your purse, which it's already in mine.
Yay!
Yeah, and
I love that.
because it's a great reminder, all these different powers that we are ignoring. One of them is appearance, and embracing your appearance and just feeling great with the way that you look. How do people go about embracing that appearance? And the women especially, I feel as though there's this disconnect.
Right. Well, I think we're so self-critical, right? Where society is hard on us because we're airbrushing things on magazines, we're doing things out there that aren't real, especially even with social media. And then we're comparing ourselves always, you know, trying to prove. And so I think when you come from that first power of embracing yourself, really loving yourself, you know, from a deep, deep place, it doesn't matter if I have a baseball cap on or I just left the gym or if I'm all fabulous on a TV show, right?
Yeah.
It's the same. I need to love myself from the inside out, and I want every woman to be deeply in love with herself. And the only way you can do that is with practice, but also with you know, reminding yourself every day that you are enough, that you are beautiful from the inside out. It's not about the size that you wear. It's not about what the scale says. It's not about what clothes you have on or how your hair is. It's about the person that you are, the love that you give, the kindness that you show. And if we are giving that to others, we really need to start with ourselves.
And you know what is so interesting is when I shared the book and walked through the guidebook with my daughter of the Girl Power Go, a series that you created before Positive Vibes.
Right.
It seemed easy for her to understand it and pick it up. But what you're saying about loving yourself, is it that easy for women, older women?
No, because I think we, you know, we always overextend, and we get in, whether it's relationships with other women or with family or even with our children, our spouse. These are difficult relationships, and sometimes they're, you know, we take in all these other influences. For women, I think the biggest thing is time. We don't allow ourselves the time to practice, as I say, this self-love. So you need to get into a routine, whatever that is, whether it's journaling for yourself, practicing your gratitude, doing I am statements that I do with the kids. You know, kids, I wanted to write it in that simple way so kids could absorb it. And my books they're not fancy in that, you know, I'm not a professor, but I'm real, and it's things I've lived. And so just for myself, it's things I've practiced, you know, writing I am strong, I am beautiful, I am powerful, I am enough. I am valuable. And then reading those to yourself every night before you go to bed and every morning before your feet hit the floor.
Yeah. You know, I'm reminded of...
It's hard work. You have to be on it all the time. It's not. I would never,
I gotta say, it feels silly. At times,
silly.
when you look at yourself in the mirror and you are trying to express something positive, the first few times doing it, I actually don't, I have to be honest, I don't ever do that. But I do it for my daughter, and I remind myself often that, okay, in order for me to believe it for her, I need to believe it for myself, because that's what you taught me in Girl Power Go.
Right.
So I'm getting lessons, from teaching my daughter those things, but it's practice, and it can feel uncomfortable. Maybe not silly, but it feels uncomfortable because that's not how we're conditioned to act.
Right. Right. And at some point, I don't know where it happens, but something kind of comes over us where we just think that we don't deserve it, almost. Women, we are really great givers. We are not great receivers. And you and I have talked about that before.
That's right.
I think you have to allow yourself to receive, whether it's a compliment from yourself or someone else. It took me my whole life to really realize that I am a powerhouse every day of the week. Whether I am tired, whether I'm grocery shopping, whether I'm speaking, whether I'm shooting some, whatever it is, I am powerful. And I want every woman to say that to themselves over and over and over. It's like anything else. You can't get great at a sport if you don't practice.
Yeah.
You can't get great at loving yourself if you don't practice.
If you don't practice. That's
right?
Great. That makes sense. So that's one of the powers, is to have these exercises for yourself. What else would be considered an exercise for yourself?
So I think this book, Positive Vibes, came, was necessary for me as much as it was for the people that were asking for it, because what I found through these workshops were that there were these 6 powers that I feel like we were lacking. The power of self-love, the power of forgiveness. After forgiveness, we have to go to letting go. And oftentimes it's hard to forgive others and ourselves, right? We keep ourselves on the hook for absolutely ridiculous things.
Yes.
Perfect example to all your moms out there, or all people that are racing to work. I'm 5 minutes late, I'm in traffic, or my kids, are waiting for me on the curb because they don't take a bus, and oh my gosh, I stink. Well, no, it's not because I was sitting at home, eating chocolate bars and watching a soap opera.
Right.
I was probably doing 25 things. And teaching women about what I call the list, putting yourself on the list first.
Yes.
No one does that.
I know.
I want them to do it.
You told me that.
Yes,
right?
So I say most women, I know myself, I used to have a list of 25 things, let's say, and I would get 10 done.
Right.
And I would, still feel like, gosh, why can't I get everything done?
I know.
I stink. And then realized now an exercise I do with women is that, and this one isn't even in the book, but do 3 things. Your list is only 3 things every day. And so first is for self, second is for family or those that you deeply love, whatever your relationships are, and then for your career. And those are the things. And then every day you're a rock star.
Right.
How many women do you know only set their goals at 3 things a day?
That's true.
Right?
No,
Every day I am like,
I know.
And so just kind of getting those things right in our head and realizing we have the choice.
It's funny that you say that, because the first time I heard that you needed to make a list and include something was when you had to include something for your partner, like a date night. Or we're gonna have sex on Wednesday.
Right.
Or, right? Let's write it down. Again, seems like silly that you have to do that, but you do have to schedule it. You got to put it in your calendar.
Right.
And there again, we're giving to someone else. I mean, yes, sex is for us as well.
Right. You can be a receiver, but
right. But you know what I mean? But here again,
Yes.
it's not only for self. It's not like you're not writing something down only for self, and you need to include something just for yourself.
Right. Otherwise, the list becomes all the other things that we do.
Right.
I need to
Give
go
it
to the
again.
grocery. I need
Yes.
to do a meal. I need to be the taxi.
Right.
I need to call my friend. Many times women are taking care of other women.
Right.
So they're on the list, but we're not.
Right, exactly. All right, well, when we come back, we're going to be back in a minute with more with Erin, so keep watching because we're going to talk about the other powers in her book, Positive Vibes. Stay with us. Welcome back to Woman2Woman today. I'm Maseda, and we're joined by Erin Mahoney of Girl Power Go and the author of Positive Vibes. Thanks for being with us again, Erin. And we talked about in the last segment just a couple of the powers, but now I really want to talk about the second power, which is sitting in the pain. What does that mean? Because it sounds really uncomfortable.
Right. People don't love it there, so we tend to not
Go
dwell there. We
Right.
don't go there. But what I found in my personal life certainly was that the only way that I could get to forgiving, truly forgiving, and then letting go and then moving forward in a positive way was sometimes that we need to really sit in the pain. And what I mean by that is acknowledging what's hurting us, you know, whether it be through relationships or career or whatever it is that's making us feel crummy, and sitting there and letting ourselves feel it and honoring that. You know, as women, we don't allow ourselves time to honor our feelings and knowing that it's okay. You know, if you feel crummy, you know, because of something, an action you did or something you said or a behavior you had, it's really important to sit in that and just let yourself feel it. Because if you don't, you can't move forward. My mom used to say, you can never get past anything unless you go straight through it.
Yeah.
And I believe that. I think sitting in the pain is necessary before we move into forgiveness. And
people have different amounts of time that they need to sit in the pain, right?
Absolutely.
How do you know when you're, all right, I'm good? You just kind of say it to yourself and you're like, okay, now I need to go on to phase 2.
Right, that's a great question. And I think it depends on what the pain is. So for example, my parents divorced when I was very young, and I had a lot of pain around that, a lot of disappointment. My dad wasn't around very much. I talk about some of that in the book. But that's a really big situation, right? And so I needed to get comfortable with it. I love him. I hold no regret and no resentment, and that is so freeing. And that's how you become free, is when you have to realize what are your actions to own, and how do you want things to feel on the other side of your behavior. And if you're in a good place with that, then you move right into forgiveness. We have to really remember we cannot control people's thoughts, behaviors, actions, or words. I say that all the time to women. We want to own all of it. And believe me, others want you to own it.
Yeah.
They don't want to own their own stuff at times. And so, you know, in order to get to forgiveness, you have to figure out what parts are yours and then just get right with them. And I know I've made mistakes.
Right.
And so just moving on from that and telling myself that I am going to try and do better next time, or whatever that is, reaching out to people that we care about, but also setting boundaries, knowing that sometimes when women set boundaries, people think we're a, you know, she's such a bitch.
We're
can I say that on Access?
Yes, you
right.
can.
Tough.
Yeah.
Right.
Little tough.
Right. Little tough. And so, you know, there's just teaching women that it doesn't have to look and feel like that, and it's okay if people think that. If, you know, I'm moving on.
Yeah.
You know,
that's their baggage if they're thinking that. Yes.
Right, exactly. But that sitting in the pain, you know, sometimes it's just a little thing, someone's action, and being able to disconnect, look at it and say, you know, oh, maybe I shouldn't have, especially with, like, say, parents, siblings. You know, we see our kids all the time. They say hurtful things that they would never say to anyone else because we're family.
Right.
Right? And, you know, just allowing ourselves to move on. That's a smaller situation, right?
Yeah.
But, you know.
No, but it's a good example, because I feel like enough of those, and you're like, okay, I really need to, I feel it.
Right, you feel it.
I'm sitting in the pain of, you know, my kids saying, I hate you, and, you know, and that's what, those are, I think, you remember in the last segment we talked about practicing all of these different, so those are good practice times where you can practice forgiving someone else, letting go of it, and setting it free. And I want to talk about that setting free piece, because something just happened to me recently. I did a conference, and then with a lot of help from you and a lot of amazing, incredible women, and then I let it go and I set myself free. And that freeing piece, I felt like I was attached to someone or something, an event or a person, and it was like covering, you know, my day.
Right.
But when you set something free, I don't think I'd ever felt that freedom before.
That's awesome.
And that's what you're talking about, right?
Absolutely. Like opening yourself up to what's next.
Right. Because that is dragging you down.
Right.
No, and they don't care. The person or the event or the thing that you're holding on to, they probably are also let it go.
Right.
Like, that's probably not even something, but it's impacting you.
Right.
And so you're dragging your own self down because of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I think, you know, many people are self-serving, and that's okay. They're what's in it for me. kind of thing. And so in order to really set yourself free, you have to just, kind of almost play a trick on, not a trick, but I'll say, I see you. Like realizing what triggers you.
Yes.
What's making me hold on to this thing? Is this thing really serving me in a positive way? What's the vibration?
Right.
Does the vibration lift me? Is your vibration higher when you're doing this thing? Or is it kind of sucking the life out of you?
Right.
And if it does, let it melt away.
Yeah.
I talk about letting it melt away because that's how it works for me.
Yeah.
Soften into it, and because when we hold on too tight, we're actually, I believe, preventing other more powerful things from coming into our life.
Yes.
Bigger opportunities,
Right.
more loving people.
Bigger thoughts. Even
Bigger thoughts.
as simple as that.
Right.
Bigger thoughts and allowing yourself to open your mind to different possibilities.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. I put a picture of an eagle in my book because I feel like it's such a big, beautiful bird. It symbolizes so many things for
Yes.
so many people, but for me, it is freedom.
Yes.
And I think the quote in there is an Eleanor Roosevelt, which I love, and that is, what is it? No one can. Now I'm on the spot. Without your consent. Something.
Okay.
Look. Oh.
You know what? We're going to have to read the book.
And this is us being real, right?
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. And that's what this book really is. I mean, you have put so much of yourself into this, and you're famous, obviously, and so we're grateful that you're here. And we talked about
You're
this
funny.
off camera. When we leave here, we're just two women that are gonna pick up our kids and take them to their soccer and hockey
That's right,
games
right.
and make dinner and,
and probably do a few loads of laundry right,
Yes.
exactly.
So, but I think that people need to know that real women can be, and real is probably not the right term, but all women can be successful and in what their passion and their dream is, and share that in order to impact others' lives.
Right, absolutely. We can be very driven.
Yes.
We can be very focused, and we can also, be kind of messy. So I feel like
And forgive
sometimes
ourselves,
life
but
is,
that's yes.
and forgive
Yeah.
ourselves. Actually embrace that. Like sometimes now you can go overboard, but it feels really good. Just let yourself stay in dirty clothes. How many women watching sometimes go 2 and 3 days without a shower, right? Yeah,
Yes.
the shower's the bonus. Do I do the laundry? Do I unload the dishwasher? Or do I get a shower?
Yes.
Right? So that's...
We got to put ourselves on the list.
We do. We're on the list. I am getting a shower
getting a
today.
shower today.
That's right. And it's okay if other things,
That's right.
the people around us, the company is still going to run. Everything's going to get picked up. Our people won't starve.
Nobody's
right.
gonna
Our
die.
families will.
Hopefully.
Right. Everything will take care of itself.
Right. Yeah. Well, that brings us to one of the powers, which is navigating relationships.
Right.
Yeah. So that is balancing your home with your partner or your children, or if there's animals in your home. You're balancing all the time. You're navigating these relationships, and you're figuring out how to do it in a way that's helpful for everybody.
Right. And everybody, whatever the dynamic is in their home or their workplace, we're navigating relationships 24/7.
That's right.
All the time. And so I, in this book and in my life, really take full responsibility for my energy and no one else's, and trying to teach women that we get to decide how we're going to hold other people's energy.
Right.
Because I have found those that I have the deepest love for challenge me the most,
yes.
right? Our family, our
I would
kids.
hope so, right?
Right.
That's what they're
exactly.
supposed to do. Right.
And if you didn't have that deep connection, it wouldn't matter so much.
Right.
But realizing we don't need to please other people. I can care very deeply for you. I don't necessarily have to care what you think.
Right.
And that's
huge.
It's huge. It's a
That is
powerful
huge.
statement that will free you.
Right.
Because it doesn't mean that I'm mean or I'm unloving or any of these things that we tell ourselves in our head, right? Those things don't exist. No one's actually saying those things to us. We say them to ourselves.
Yeah.
So let
The
yourself
talk track.
off the hook and move on. I love you very deeply.
Right.
I'm going to talk to you in 3 days.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or whatever it feels like, or go to your room or whatever. Or I'm going to go for a drive in my car. That's another thing. Women realizing that we do have the power to choose. So if I need to get away, I'll go for a ride or anyone, right?
Yeah.
Whatever you need to do.
Absolutely.
Go for a walk.
Go for a walk.
Meditate, create some quiet time, whatever serves you. Super
Right.
important.
Yeah. Yeah, and so what are some of the powers that because some of the things that you talk about in the book, there are pieces of it that show up through our day or our week or our month, maybe we're not focusing in on it solely, but what are some of the powers that we completely ignore?
The power of self-love, we ignore. Goal setting is another one. I'm very goal-oriented, but many women don't maybe sit down and strategize about what they want their life to look like, or even the day. It doesn't need to be, the rest of your life.
That's a great point. No, let's sit on that. Let's sit in the pain for a minute, because I don't think we set an intention for our day as much as we possibly can, because this is what I do in the morning. I say, I've got to drive Bella to dance. I've got to take Sebastian to soccer. He's got to wear his uniform, so I got to wash this. That's my intention for the day.
So we're going to change that, Jen.
Yes.
This week, your new intention is, what am I doing for Jen this morning? I can still do all those other things. Am I going to sit for 10 minutes? Maybe I'm going to read this great new book.
That's right.
Right?
Absolutely.
Maybe I'm going to go for a walk, or I'm going to get a cup of coffee, or whatever it is that brings you joy. Maybe I'm going to go to Zumba. Right?
That brings me joy.
I know. And me too.
Yeah.
And so whatever that piece is,
Right.
but really setting that intention.
Right.
And then at the end of the day, if we don't do it, many times I say I'm going to go for the walk, or I'm going to go hit the weights. It doesn't happen. Saying to myself, you know what? It's okay. I did the best I could, and my best is enough. That's the other piece of that power, is you get to decide how you want to hold those goals. So maybe something else came into the day. Maybe, God forbid, I got a call from school and I needed to race off, and that was my window to exercise. It's all good, right? And still finding gratitude and not beating ourselves up.
Right.
So many times we don't get to a goal, and it's our trigger to say we stink or we failed.
Right.
We're not failing. We just decided that goal that seemed meaningful at 8 a.m. didn't seem so meaningful at 6 o'clock at night.
It's okay to prioritize those and make it.
Yeah, so setting the intention and the goals, but letting them go.
Letting them go.
As well.
I love that.
Yeah, I love that too.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for writing this book. I mean, you're changing girls' lives, and now, at the same time you were changing girls' lives, you were changing women's lives, because if they're paying bloody attention, they were reading that book and going, damn, I really need to get this done myself. But now you are purposefully changing women's lives by focusing on them and giving them some specific powers to make it happen, and we're all very grateful.
Thank you. I'm super excited about it, because I do feel like, I want, this cover is so beautiful, and I want every single woman to be deeply in love with themselves at every moment and every day.
Yeah. Well, I'm deeply in love with you, Erin.
Right back at you. Me too, Jen. You always do this. I
know I always cry when you come on the show.
Me too.
And I just want people to know, this is the only time we have had a repeat guest on this show, and we are so proud that it was Erin Mahoney. So thank you, Erin.
Thanks. It was such a pleasure. I feel so grateful that you came into my path and my journey. I really am. So thank you for helping us spread the word.
All right, please remember to follow, like, and subscribe to Woman2Woman Today on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, so you don't miss a show. Thanks to the entire team at Access Framingham, especially Shavarsh Morrissey and Francesca Cerruti Harris. Thanks also to Jess Briswell, our assistant producer. I'm Jen Maseda, your host of Woman2Woman Today. Thanks for watching, everyone. See you next time, where we hope to inspire you.